I apologize if it's very loud in here. There's no way to exist in here without the fan because of the extreme heat going on here. Um, so I have to have it on. I actually don't even feel it over here. Um, oh, should be interesting. I do have a little bit of Sorry, just a second. Hang on, guys. Give me a second. I will be right back. Okay, give me a second. All right. Sorry about that. Um, Sorry about that, everyone. I should have started a bit later. All right. But anyway, how's everybody doing? Dan's here. Loyalty's here. It looks like Angel's here. Excellent. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of you guys are that do come on here to the live stream are way out there, you know, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours ahead. It's just it's really hard for me to go live earlier. I'll try to, but this seems to be the most convenient time. Uh, hey, Mackenzie's here too. How about it? All right. So I got some news for you guys. How many have you heard that they're planning on shutting down CERN because of the energy crisis in Europe? Yeah. Now that's an interesting thought, isn't it? Is that going to change anything in terms of the Mandela effect? That's what I'm thinking too, Angel. I'm thinking it's good too. Yeah, wow. I was actually surprised by that too. Like they're even talking about like sending people to jail if they put their thermostat below 66 degrees or above 66 degrees. I don't know which one it is. but it's pretty crazy, like theatrical stunt, right? I know, like I'm just trying to imagine. Well, CERN is dormant most of the time anyway, though, right? Or is it? I mean, they only do experiments. Remember, I was speculating that they turned CERN on during solar flares. So I'm wondering, what do they mean by turning it off? Like the whole facility, probably. I guess all the employees will be gone or something like that. That's what they mean. Um, but interesting, though. All right. So, who wants to talk about the original universe and first, or who wants to talk about doomsday of the coming food shortages? I'm gonna be reading Michael Sneiders' blog later on of this like total freaking catastrophe. It seems like with the food shortages. Um, bet the Utah data center uses more. The NSA, yeah, I bet they do use more energy than CERN. I bet they do. Yeah, Angel, I looked into all the what do you call it, the food processing fires, and there's some really stupid articles that try to debunk it as like, oh, it's all just coincidences that dozens of food plants are just burning to the ground for some reason. There's literally something like 120 food plants over the past year or so have been burning, and then planes crash. Yeah, right. And it's all just debunked as a coincidence. Like, oh, this is normal. No, they're definitely tampering with the food supply, no doubt about it. It's just it hasn't hit us quite yet because when you're talking about food, like these things take time. By the time the logistics of transporting food and growing it, this is months long processes, right? So yeah, gaslighting the public. Mackenzie's spot on. Soylent Green. That's right. Soylent Green is people. Um, whatever. Oh man, and Jack's here too. Right on, right on. But I don't know. I think I should talk about this original universe first. Um, I just keep seeing this like weird vision in my head over the last few days. The thing that kills me is I know I don't need food and could go out without eating probably for years. Yeah, none of us probably like really need it, when you think about it. Like there's like sages and yogis that supposedly literally don't eat for years too, you know, what equates to modified hybrid food. Get on it quickly, yeah. And then I mean, on the flip side of the coin, there's definitely a fear porn component to it too. But then the fear porn, that is part of the gaslighting process, because gaslighting is meant to confuse the mind, right? So you won't be able to distinguish what is reality and what isn't. So there's definitely elements of misinformation to what's going on as well. Okay. So, okay, since we started on this topic, let's just talk about this first. I'm sorry, I don't know how to share the screen on this thing. I'm sure there's an easy way to do it. Um, share screen. It's all right. I'll just read it to you. Okay, let's see. Like I said, I did actually read more in depth into most of this stuff, but as far as I know, it seems pretty accurate. I mean, you could look at footage of Pakistan, for example, which a third of Pakistan is literally underwater. Um, and these catastrophic floods, I've actually never seen floods like that in my life. I mean, you're having the 1 in 1,500 year floods simultaneously with the 1 in 1,500 year droughts side by side. and this sort of weather whiplash chaos, I personally think is part of the birthing. Okay. Um, and we did have that situation where I believed for a while that the birth was stopped by Moloch and that it was literally cut off, and the whole solar birth was no more. But recent events have gotten me to change my mind again, and I now realize that it seems like the birthing is intensifying. So these sort of symptoms, right? And then there's also components to it that are sabotage, right? So it's not just processes from the sun or the earth. There is geoengineering as well, right? So there's cloud seeding, there is the chemtrailing, there is weather warfare. All of these things in combination with this sort of, you know, God being born is really intensifying. It seems like. Yeah, I do have quite a bit of seeds. So get seeds to grow in your arm. It's going to last 2 years. Yes, seeds are definitely good to have for sure. And if you live in a dry area like me, definitely a good idea to get water filters and to get just water stored in general. Unless you know where there's like a local well or like where you can get clean water. This area here is extremely dry. Um, if you live in a place with an abundance of rivers, well, then good for you. You're lucky. Just make sure you know how to filter that water of parasites and all that stuff. Um, so it says here that the red winter wheat crop in the U.S. was the smallest since 1963. In 1963, there was 182 million people in the U.S. Now there's 30 million. Okay, then it says here the rice in California is half of what it'd be in a normal year. So I do know that there is a rice growing area in Northern California. It's actually one of the few areas in the U.S. where rice is grown. Let's see here. Extreme drought. By the way, speaking of drought, I think we're going to get some rain this Friday. There's actually going to be a hurricane, believe it or not, that's going to hit Baja California, Mexico, and part of that hurricane is supposedly going to hit us. But rain from floods doesn't necessarily solve drought. It just washes away the topsoil and everything. So it's not necessarily a thing. You think it's worse than they're saying? I'm sure. I think so too. Okay. I think so too. I think it is worse than they're saying. Um, uh, okay, like if you think about it, if you're, like a normie politician or one of these just sort of pundits that we see on TV, it would be in their best interest to downplay situations rather than exaggerate them. Because I still think they don't want to cause social upheaval or chaos, right? So if there would be like politicians that would come out and say, next year there isn't going to be any food, or there'll be like 70% reduction in the amount of food, or the prices are going to be too insane for anyone to afford, we would have riots in the streets immediately, right? But if they say, oh, well, there's this little drought, there's going to be some problems with the almond trees and some fruits, and it's no big deal. It's just you're going to see like a little 10% increase. It's all good. Then the chances of seeing riots are less, right? Yeah, the water is warm in the Pacific. I just swam in the ocean here the other day. It's super warm. It's normally pretty chilly. Yes, playing it down is to not panic. So it's, and then it says, okay. In terms of corn, it says American corn is on track to produce its lowest yield since the drought of 2012. I don't even know what red winter wheat crop is, to be honest. I'm not like an expert on these crops. Um, poor yields. So that's what we're looking at. The U.S. tomato harvest, it says here, will come in at just 10.5 million tons in 2022. That's more than 1 million tons lower than a normal year. And the worst U.S. corn harvest in at least a decade. Year-to-date shipments of carrots are down 45%. Year-to-date shipments of sweet corn are down 20%. Year-to-date shipments of sweet potatoes are down 13%. Celery down 11%. And then the cattle, the whole thing with the cattle is really crazy. I'm going to read it to you next. Yeah. Right. So, like, I even read somewhere, let me see if I could even find this article, that there's one American beef producer that actually thinks that ground beef is going to be $50 a pound within the coming years. I mean, maybe he's telling the truth as opposed to everyone else. I don't think it'll be that much, but if it is that much, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. And we shouldn't really be eating ground beef anyway, though, so it's probably a good thing. 3/4 of all U.S. farmers say this year's drought is hurting their harvests. Thanks to the endless drought, the total number of cattle in Oregon is down 41%. So what do they mean by cattle down? So I believe that means that they sold their cattle, as far as I understand. Let's take a look. Take a look here. It just goes back to the same article. Okay. So yeah, I believe it means that they sold their cattle. In New Mexico, number of cattle are down 43%, and it's 50% in Texas. So yeah, this is right here. It says one beef producer in Oklahoma is predicting ground beef could eventually top $50 a pound. So what would that be? And what about steak prices then? I don't know. Then a steak would be like $300 probably for like a regular T-bone or something like that. I mean, I don't know. That's a little far-fetched even to me. This is the worst multi-year mega drought in the U.S. in 1,200 years. And for those of you guys who have seen, I was recently at the Hoover Dam because the Colorado River is drying up like crazy. And I saw that with my own eyes. So I can confirm that one for you guys, that that's true. I've been on that river many times, and I've never seen it that abysmally low. It is so low that it's kind of creepy looking, actually. The Colorado River just looks like nothing now. And most of the rivers out here in the Southwest, including the Rio Grande and many others in Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, California, are extremely low. Okay. So at least 40% of the U.S. has been suffering from drought conditions for 101 consecutive weeks. Okay. So then Europe too. Okay, so it's not just us, right? So Europe and China are in severe droughts as well. And I think that's kind of strange. Okay. Am I the only one who thinks that's kind of weird? Like you have Europe and China and Africa too, all in this extreme drought. Like, that kind of makes me wonder if it is weather warfare to some degree. And if you guys didn't know, China is cloud seeding. So they're officially doing geoengineering, not covertly, but very overtly, in an attempt to make it rain. Now, cloud seeding is nothing new, but the way China's going to do it, I could totally see them creating a massive flood from it. I don't know. Just the way China does things, they're probably, I mean, with their stupid zero COVID policy, and they have millions of people locked down again, by the way. The way they're going to seed the clouds, they're going to create floods now. Like they did last year, actually, or the last couple of years. Hoover Dam was very creepy indeed. Yeah, very creepy. It just looks like it's not normal for it to look so low. Like it looked off. Yeah. Yeah, there has to be some components of weather warfare here for sure. And check this out. So this is pretty crazy. So Europe is currently experiencing the worst drought that it has seen in 500 years. In some parts of Central Europe, levels have fallen so low that hunger stones are being revealed for the first time in centuries. Yeah, so I'd never even heard of these hunger stones actually. Apparently, like from centuries past, like in the Middle Ages, farmers would basically mark a rock on a river to indicate if that river was that low, then that means that they wouldn't be able to grow crops for that year or that the water level would be too low. And so these old markings from the past are showing up, which is definitely an ominous sign. I'll give them that. It changes colors as I move around. Well, okay, so it's a really crappy camera. That's probably the reason why. I don't think it's anything supernatural. It's just a really cheap computer and a really cheap camera. So, I mean, I see what you mean, though. It kind of does like morph a little bit. All right, so it's saying that crop losses in France of up to 35%. 35% crop losses. Like 37% of U.S. farmers in the west half of the country are killing their own crops. How about that one? 17 states, including north of Texas, along the Central Plains, North Dakota to California, which supports nearly half of the nation's 364 billion production by value. This includes 74% of beef cattle, blah, blah, blah. 70% of vegetable, fruit, and tree nut production. 37% of all farmers are plowing through and killing existing crops that won't reach maturity because of dry conditions. How about that? Okay, now that is actually probably one of the most insane ones that I've read so far. Hey, missed the beginning. Hey, Pin Greedy. No worries. No worries. I always start these pretty late. I'm trying to split this up into two completely different topics. I don't know if it's going to work since it's kind of hard to just abruptly jump to something totally different. But right now, I'm just reading things related to the drought and certain weird, odd weather phenomena going on around the world, killing our crops and doing lots of damage to farms. Corn production for the entire EU could be down by as much as 1/5 in 2022. Okay, but let's just look at France. So it says France might have a 35% cut in all crop production. I don't know. I'm not really great at math, but I could tell you 35% of all the crops in your country gone. That would probably raise food prices on average, not by 35%. That's not how it works. It would probably raise prices on average 400 to 500%. That would be the real markup in that case. I have strong energy. I'm kind of tired. I don't know if my strong energy is that great right now, but thanks. Yeah, it's 1/3 of all the crops, right? But they're not going to raise the price just by 1/3, Mackenzie. They're going to raise that price insane amounts. So could this be the whole preparation of eating bugs thing that Klaus Schwab is talking about and the Great Reset? How you're supposed to be eating bugs? Like, is this what they're implying because they won't have enough food? I mean, I've actually eaten bugs before, but they were chocolate covered several times. I mean, chocolate covered bugs are definitely tolerable. Bugs on their own, I don't know. I know my brother really likes eating some really exotic, interesting stuff, so he definitely wouldn't mind. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. So yeah, eat those bugs, guys. Lots of protein. It's true though. Okay, I'm not going to talk crap about bugs too much because if you look at the pygmies in southern Africa, or even the Aboriginals in Australia, that was a common staple in their diet. And then things like scorpions and even spiders in places like Thailand and Southeast Asia are common street foods. So it is a matter of perspective whether it's a taboo or not. So I just wanted to make that clear. Not daily. Prometheus. Yeah. All right, but crop losses in the UK are going to be even worse than France. It says the UK could have as much as 50% of all their crops lost this year. 50 freaking percent. Now, I've been to England, okay? The fact that there's a drought there on its own is strange because it's normally a very lush, green country, incredibly pretty farmland over there, and it's always wet, right? England is known for being always wet, and it was always wet when I was there. So just the fact that there is a drought in England alone is kind of odd. But it says that experts have warned of widespread crop failures across England as charities and farmers criticized water companies for dithering over hosepipe bans despite drought being declared across much of the country. On Friday, the Environmental Agency classified 8 of the 14 areas of England as being in a drought. Despite this, water companies, including Anglian Water, Southern Water, and Southwest Water, have not brought in hosepipe bans. Thames Water said it does not plan to expedite a hosepipe ban. Expected a hosepipe ban, huh? Oh, that's pretty brutal, actually. Actually, we have similar stuff going on in California here where they're just cutting off the water to farmers. I mean, this has been ongoing for years, though. This is not a new phenomenon over here where there's protests um, to divert water from the farms to the cities. Here, where I live, actually, I'm quite lucky. I don't get water from the mountains here. Here, we have desalinated water. We have only one of 2 desalination plants in the entire country into our water supply, and our water does not have fluoride in it. So, lucky in 2 ways. So, we have the desalination plant down the street, and it has no fluoride. So, I'm not taking water from here, so that's good, at least as far as I know. Yeah, California always bans the water usage. They do. And keep in mind how like California produces like literally like over half of all the fruits in America. By the way, um, massive. You drive through Central California to the Central Valley, you just see miles and miles of orange trees, of avocado, of almonds, all sorts of things just growing everywhere. Um, okay, what else we got here? All right, so it says that Germany is screwed too, apparently. So we have this combination of a fuel gas price crisis with a drought. It just seems like a perfect storm. It just seems too good. This is why it's suspicious for me to think that this is exclusively part of the birth. The whole thing just seems like such a good setup. You have Russia cutting off the gas to Europe. At the same time, you have these massive droughts, and it's like they're squeezing the population. Klaus Schwab just wants you to own nothing and be happy. So he's going to starve you first so that you submit and give up your things, right? Maybe. I'm just speculating here. Let's hope that's not the case. And then maybe after you give up your stuff, maybe he'll feed you some crickets. And then you could put on your your goggles, your VR goggles, and pretend that you're in paradise while living in some empty, barren apartment because you have nothing, because they took everything, because now the bank owns everything, and now the cryptocurrency owns everything. They own everything you own now. I don't know. It seems really disturbing to think about, but we have to take this into consideration here. Your stream just modified me again, like another you just started your stream. Oh, speaking of which, I got to talk about my glitch. Yeah, you know what? The original universe, that topic, I'm gonna change the title after this because we're not gonna get to that today. I will either make a regular video about those particular visions, or I'll go live again discussing that particular subject sometime within a week. But I think this topic is just too big for us not to continue. And then I'm going to get into a computer glitch that happened at work as well. So if you find the other me, can you ask him what's up, like loyalty? I'd be really happy if you if he is he in another dimension? Is that version of me cooler than this version? Does he have more hair? Is he balding less? If that's the case, can you please tell him to give me some of his hair to be sharing, because sharing is caring, because I want some of it back. So talk to him, please. All right. All right. So let's see. I was talking about Germany. Reported that crop losses of up to 50% in some parts of Germany. So we got 50% in the UK and 50% in Germany. Okay. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I feel bad for these farmers. I really do, because it's already always a really hard job to begin with. And then this is just turning into a total nightmare for them, I bet. So, and not including the financial component and bankruptcies that might be involved too. Up to half of the crops in parts of the German state of Baden-Württemberg are likely to be lost due to drought. Farmers in the regions have claimed, with problems due to the prices of fuel, fertilizer, and pesticides connected to the green agenda. That's another thing I forgot to talk about. The green agenda and the war in Ukraine also reportedly causing problems for those in the region. Well, the green agenda is part of the whole Klaus Schwab reset thing anyway, right? So we have to go green, but they don't. They get to fly around in private jets and use all the air conditioning they want and eat all the steaks they want. And they use far more resources than any poor person. Like one rich man probably uses 100 times the resources of even your lower class Americans. So I'm just speculating on that number, but he started at 9:29 Mountain Time. Must kill them having to plow the fields over. We do have lots of rabbits around here, Angel. And we have a lot of, like there is edible stuff around here if you know what to look for. First of all, where I live, there's a lot of cactus fruit. There's other plants that grow naturally, and even if in some cases mushrooms up in the mountains. Sustainability equals green. Okay, yeah, so in Germany, we got the whole Russia thing, partially responsible for the Russia. Livestock farmers in the region are also struggling, with many being forced to give animal feed meant to kept for the winter, as the amount of edible grass on the ground quite literally has dried up. Okay, let's keep going here. So some farmers in Italy have lost 80% of their harvest. 80 freaking percent. Agricultural production in Somalia is down about 80% this year. Okay, now that's a country that's known for famines war, drought. So even though that's terrible, they're used to this sort of thing. Um, that's why there's so many fishermen in Somalia and East Africa, just flocking to the coast to see if they could get as many fish as possible. Because it's always been really hard to grow crops in that region of the world anyway. Um, in Eastern Africa, the endless drought has already resulted in the deaths of 7 million animals. In China, they are facing the worst drought they have ever experienced in recorded history. So China is a key here too. China is just in deep denial, I think. They have their housing Ponzi scheme where they built something like 62 million empty homes just for the purposes of taking out mortgages and loans and reselling them for speculators. They created literally the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of Earth. I got to get to the chat here. You guys are so GSS1123 said, I had a very vivid dream about a rocket mishap involving a fuel leak at a coupling causing issues with takeoff. When the rocket finally did take off, there was a mishap 10 days before Artemis. Oh. Well, you know what? That's interesting that you brought that up because I heard that they're having problems with that rocket, that they're having some maintenance issues with it and are trying to fix something right now. So interesting. Famine is the third seal of the book of Revelation. Right, Jack. Yes, definitely. It seems like they're following the book. Yep, no doubt. I saw clips of people in China sleeping on rivers and sleeping in caves. Wow. They're never getting to the moon. I don't believe they are either. I don't. Yeah, China is really in a deep doo-doo. And they're making things much worse for themselves by locking down millions of people, forcing them to stay inside. And the way they do it is so brutal and inhumane that it's just speechless. Like, China is just evil. I don't care. I'll say it to their face. China's evil. Okay. India normally accounts for 40% of the global rice trade, but we're being warned that production in that country will be way down in 2022 due to considerable rainfall deficits in key rice producing states. Now, India is one weird place. I mean, it has almost the same population as China, with a third of the land. So if they have any problems, they're in deep crap. And Pakistan is not a small country either. I think it's the fifth or sixth most populous country in the world. And it says here, a third of the entire nation of Pakistan was underwater after recent floods absolutely devastated that nation, and agricultural areas were hit particularly hard. As a result, the vast majority of the crops in the country have been washed away. The vast majority. Okay. So that is not fear porn right there. That is just seriously disturbing and concerning stuff. They wouldn't even let them out for an earthquake. Right. There was a big earthquake in China yesterday, I think. Yes, there was, actually. Good point. With a couple of hundred deaths, I believe. And then it says here, it has been estimated that roughly 65% of the country's food basket, particularly crops like rice, cotton, wheat, and onion, have been washed away. Pakistan Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, in an interview to CGTN earlier this week, offered an even starker outlook by saying that 80 to 90% of the country's crops have been damaged by floods. Basically, if they don't import food from elsewhere, I think they're going to be seeing a situation like Sri Lanka pretty soon, where a few months back they literally had a social collapse, a societal collapse in that country, where there was no medicine, there was no gas, there was no food, there was literally nothing that you could get in Sri Lanka for weeks on end. I don't know how things are now, but I'm that's where I see Pakistan in the next few weeks. A much bigger country than Sri Lanka, by the way, to be in that sort of riot-like situation. Um, the prices of fertilizers have tripled since 2021, while the prices of some other fertilizers have quadrupled. Okay. One payment company is reporting that the number of Americans using their app to take out short term loans for groceries has risen 95%. Now, that's pretty interesting. I don't even know what this app is. I never heard of it. Demand at U.S. food banks is now even worse than it was during the height of the COVID pandemic. Now, if that's not telling, I don't know what is. Because remember, that's when they forced everyone inside over here, too. Oh man, this is just too depressing to read the rest of this. But UN Secretary General is projecting multiple famines in 2023. That's obvious, and the risk of civil unrest in more than half of the world's countries, signaling a coming period of global instability fueled by inflation, war, shortages, and essential. Yes, war. This is the next step, I think. Not necessarily everything going nuclear and boom all of a sudden, but potentially country against country over resources. And actually, we're seeing this play out with Turkey and Greece in the last few days, where the president of Turkey is literally threatening Greece to attack them. And it'll start with smaller nations, and then China and Taiwan and so on and so forth. And it just seems obvious to me and very sad. Heard they want next year. You won't be able to get any. You don't think we'll be able to get any food next year, Angel? I don't know about any. I'm sure there'll be some things around. I just think they'll be expensive. They already are expensive. I just think they'll be a lot more expensive. It really just depends. Of course, if we get a total social collapse, or a war, a world war, a civil war, in that sense, then yeah, then it might be really hard to get. But if things remain sort of the same, I think I'm expecting food prices to be double or triple what they are now, basically. So whatever you see now is going to be 3 times the price for everything, is what I'm speculating. I don't think we'll be, or whatever this is, for much longer. Oh, God, I hope you're right. Wait all day for a loaf of bread. Doesn't it say something like that in the Bible, actually? Something about you'll have to work a day's wages to afford a loaf of bread. I wouldn't be shocked one bit if that's what they're aiming at. And that's pretty sad. I wouldn't want to live like that. I don't know about you, but that's no life to live. You're just existing at that point. All right. 1 day's work equals 1/10 ounce of silver in Bible. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So, well, before I get into my glitch I had at work, and then I spoke about the pregnant ladies the other day too, I want to ask you guys if you've seen noticeable increases in food pricing in the last few months where you live. Because, for example, Angel, I don't know how it is in Canada. So it would be interesting. Like, what would you say is like the average you've seen? Oh, you have seen. So would you say it's like like say September 2021? So a year ago, like how much have food prices increased? Would you say 10%, 5%? It's horrible. I grabbed everything on sale. I will tell you over here since September 2021, it really varies. 40%. Wow. And GSS also says 40%. That is shocking. That is shocking. Yeah, I would say I was going for something similar. So I would say the overall real inflation rate over everything where I live is between 25 and 35%. So I was saying pretty close to what you guys are saying. In terms of food, it does vary widely, but it's anywhere between like 10% increases to like 50%. It just depends on what. So you're canning, yeah. That's crazy in Canada though, but I'm sure partially you could thank Mr. Trudy for that and his nonsensical governmental practices. I know my spirit will just leave because there's not much more I can go through without completely fracturing, and I'm not allowed to. I would leave his body. I hear that. I hear that loud and clear. Seriously, I get it when really low, and then they can dehydrate. That's good. Um, I have a lot of cans, but I don't. We do have a few things that we have canned, like from a while back, but I haven't been practicing that specifically. We have a lot of other stuff though, like a lot of freeze dried foods and like bags of rice and stuff. All right. Anyway, go on for a few more minutes, and then just tell you what happened at work this one day. Um, so I got a call that there was an alarm at the other building we have to go to check, and it was like a burglar alarm, like somebody broke in the building. Let me just read Jack's here real quick. Me and my friend call this epoch, or in the black days, it's dark time, dark winter. Yeah, dark. This is the real dark winter Joe Biden's talking about. I think this upcoming winter. So, yeah, so I get a call from the alarm company telling me, hey, you want us to call the police? Somebody broke into the building. And I'm like, no, it's probably just somebody delivering something. So I go over there, and there's this big white box truck parked in front of that building. But it wasn't just parked right in front of the building, it was parked right in front of the camera, or there's a bunch of cameras, but it's parked in front of the main camera. So easily visible. And I saw it with my own eyes. Not only did I see the truck with my own eyes, I waved down the driver. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you. And he didn't. So he just drove off. And I'm like, what the hell? Okay. But I go inside, see if anything was stolen, blah, blah, blah. Didn't look like anything changed at all. So he's probably just delivering something. Big deal, right? Called the alarm company, reset the alarm, locked the doors, whatever. Things happen. Think about your food, storing food as you're willing to kill your NPC or minion neighbors. I'm not. No more karma. No, I do not want to do that at all, loyalty. All for okay. No, I would rather die before I had to do that to anyone. Absolutely not. So the weapons that I do have, uh, a variety of guns and other things, are for self-defense purposes only, and to just protect us here. But if we reach that point, it's just better to be dead. Nope. That I'm not becoming some cannibal savage. I refuse. I You would be better just to not exist at that point. We have so many seeds that we can grow in all our neighbors' yards, enough to feed our block. We don't have guns. Really, I thought you guys did have guns. I mean, I know they're a bit harder to get than over here, but I'm pretty sure like you have a large population of gun owners in Canada too. Blue helmets are fair game. 100 ounces of silver equals 2.7 years or days' wages. When reality hits the US dollar and broken metals markets, I believe this will correct the fair value. Fair value. You ever watch Gregory Mannarino? He uses that term a lot, fair value, because he believes that the stock market is far from a fair value, and he's correct on that. Shotguns for hunting. Yeah, there's a lot of hunting weapons. You can't, no handguns. I know you banned the import of handguns actually recently, as far as I know. Okay. Oh yeah. So moving on with the truck, I gotta finish this because it's weird, and I have to tell you because it annoys the hell out of me. These glitches. So I go back and I watch the cameras, right? Because I make a report about it because I don't know, just in case I have nothing better to do. So why not? I make a report. And then I look at the cameras. I knew exactly the time I came there when that truck was there, 10:24 a.m. And I'm like, oh, I should easily find it on the camera. I put on the camera to 10:24 a.m. Nothing. There's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, maybe I got a few minutes off. I checked the entire hour from 10 a.m. to 11. No truck ever showed up on that camera ever at any point. And I call someone over. I'm like, hey, we had an alarm go off. There was a truck there. I saw the damn truck with my own eyes. It freaking does not show up on the camera. Creepy indeed. And so this guy is looking for it literally like an hour or two. But guess what? He eventually does find the truck on the camera. Except the timestamp was hours later. Okay. So I came there at 10:24 a.m. He's like, he found the truck at almost at the end of our shift. Like it came there like at 2 or 3 o'clock or something. So either the timing is off on the software. I guess it could be logical. I don't know. It seems odd to me still that this truck is found hours later. Like it didn't even happen yet. Like this, it still pissed me off. It is weird. It's weird. I had a lot of weird things happen at this place. A lot of weird behavior. And then the people fainting, and then anomalies with the camera, like people showing up at the door, right? And I see them with my own eyes, like the truck, but they're not on the camera. And it's not a delay because I'm not talking about a 2-second delay here. I'm talking about 30-second minute delays. This would have to be. So it's annoying. It's weird. It's like the Matrix is telling me something. I don't believe in logical explanations anymore. Me too. There's no reason to believe them. There's no reason to believe in coincidences, period. There's no reason. Because there are no coincidences. Okay? Was the lightning in the video of the truck matching the time of day, shadows, etc.? Oh, you know what? I didn't even look at that. I'm going to have to look into that. I could still go back in time and take a look, actually. I didn't even pay attention. That would have been the obvious thing to look at. Let's see if that, because it would be in the position of the sun, right? If it was 3 o'clock during the day, the light would be different. You're absolutely correct. And another timeline, right? I just wonder what percentage are NPCs. I don't know. I think more people are becoming them, though. There's definitely some hive mind mentality going on. I don't know. It's like some kind of. Could that be why they want us to eat bugs? Because maybe they're bugs themselves. They're like, hey, have a piece of us. Okay. So I guess I'll just go on for 5 more minutes since it's going to be an hour. And I'll call it a day, and I'll change the title of the stream. Time does feel different. It feels very different, actually, especially the last couple of weeks. Actually, you know how people have been talking about time has slowed down or time has sped up over the years, and it has sped up outrageously over the years. But the last couple of weeks, time has slowed the hell down for me, like tremendously. Maybe it's the hot weather. I don't know. But every day has been really dragging as of late. I don't recognize the world either, Mackenzie. Like, what is this? I don't know. I don't know. They must get a download to get on Twitter to be outraged over a nothing tweet. We're the programs that rebelled. Interesting. I had this feeling recently that it should be 2023 by now. Time has slowed. Yeah, it's slowed. It's like, are they dragging us into the dark winter? It definitely slowed down for sure. Seems really slow. Okay, I attribute at least some of that to the hot weather, uh, the extremely unbearably white sun hot weather. And by the way, speaking of the white sun, the Mandela affected white sun, for some reason I've actually been able to tolerate it a lot better lately and have been able to be outside more often than like in years past. I don't know if I'm just getting used to it or what the case may be, but the white blistering sun does not bother me as much lately. It's not that hot over there. Oh yeah, that's good. It's pretty damn hot over here. Seems much slower. Yeah. Seems much slower. It's like it's so weird. Um and then you guys have heard about like supposedly the earth is like literally spinning faster. So time has literally sped up as from what I read, like by a fraction of a second or whatever, at least by their claims. Whatever credence these claims even have, I don't even know anymore. Uh, Honestly, I don't even know how much I believe in stuff like the Schumann resonance anymore or anything like that because I just don't freaking know. 70s, yeah, that's pretty nice. Plenty of rain. That's good. So you don't have a drought there, it seems. That's good. What they're so scared of, you're talking about the dominions and control. I don't know if they're scared. I just think they're so obsessed with control and manipulation and having everything go the way they want that if they lose that control, it's like a sort of narcissistic stranglehold on the population who has Stockholm syndrome. That's like badly, that's the good word. That's badly begging them for control. And they're willing to give it to them. They're losing control for sure. Um, uh, but hey, to be fair, remember we talked about earlier in the stream, we're speculating that things are much worse than they're telling us. And I'm going to have to very much agree with that. Um, in that sense, I think they're actually controlling the narrative pretty well, since for the most part, there is not a whole lot of social unrest as of yet. Even though they even try to incite it themselves, like people like Biden with his red, creepy blood lighting in the background, Civil War speech, or the arrest of Trump, things of this nature. If they were attempting to incite unrest, it hasn't worked so far. I noticed that problems receiving time, like it doesn't translate properly. Same here. That's what I was trying to say earlier, actually, and have to hide it from the NPCs and minions. I can't translate it either. It's like it doesn't compute anymore. Like hours or minutes, like are just they don't. I know exactly what you mean. You're spot on. Oh wow. All right, well, that was a good stream. Looks like we have now reached the hour. Like I said, I'll make that video or possibly live stream depends on my mood or whatever regarding the original universe later on. And I hope you all have a very good night. Yeah, I used to be obsessive. Yes, I have. Yeah. You have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.